Greetings, YouTube. So recently I did a video about world building with vampires and sapient zombies. Like how do they interface with the world? How do they function within it? So we're going to kind of take a riff off of that, and we're going to talk about a zombie plague in a specific setting. And the specific setting I'm talking about today is Cyberpunk. Now, when I think of Cyberpunk, I think of the original Cyberpunk 2020. To my mind, still the best Cyberpunk game ever done. Though cyberspace has a really wonderful, deep background, and their technology stuff, all their little cyber options and things are awesome. I'm just not really in love with the system that cyberspace is tied to, Iron Crown Entertainment, the ICE system. Um, but Cyberpunk 2020 is the original, and I still love it, even though it is a snapshot of the Reagan era made, cranked to 11. It is not really pertinent to today's world. You couldn't play Cyberpunk 2020 translated to the reality of now. It doesn't work the same. You very much have to play it as a retro game of that era. So we're going to take that, Cyberpunk 2020, as presented in the game, and we're going to dump zombies on them. Now, there's two ways of doing the zombie dumping in my book. The first is the T-virus from the Umbrella Corporation. That is science fiction enough to be plausible. It's let's face it, cyberpunk itself is a science fantasy setting. It is very loose with science, and the T virus is close enough. It fits in that looseness of cyberpunk, so I think it shoehorns well in there. It's in the same wheelhouse, if you'd like. Um, the other option is to do the George Romero style, which is one day all the dead people get up. And in both cases, the T virus and in George Romero's universe, if you get bit or you share bodily fluids with an infected person, you will yourself die and then become a zombie. So in either case, whether it's the T virus, which is again a little more science fiction-y, or the George Romero, one day everybody die, everyone that's dead stands up and starts going at the living, or and anyone that dies from that moment, just dying, will have you rise as the undead. Um, now, one of the things is in the cyberpunk setting, almost everyone is heavily armed, and all the PCs are heavily armed. All right. So I don't think in either case, whether it's the T virus or the George Romero ghouls, will you see the world completely collapse. What I think you're going to see is something very similar to Shaun of the Dead. Now, in Shaun of the Dead, all of the characters are living in a place where there are no weapons. There are no firearms. There's just hand weapons, and those are mostly, what they could ad hoc, what they could lay their hands on or make along the way, like a cricket bat, for example. I have a cricket bat right there in honor of Shaun of the Dead. So I saw it in the film, like, I have to own one, and now I own one. It's right over there. Um, so they didn't have a good go of it, and they made some bad decisions. For example, when they got to the girlfriend's apartment, they should have just barricaded themselves in and stayed in place, and they would have been fine, and everyone would have survived that film. But they fixated on getting to a place that had a gun, which was dumb. They were in a frigging tower. They could have survived the entire damn fire outbreak, because when the military showed up, zombie invasion was over, because the military had firearms and APCs and tanks and air cover, and suddenly they all went away. And in Cyberpunk, even basic street samurai will have armored vehicles, heavily armored, and able to take out zombies at range. It's very simple. If they aren't talking, you kill them. You be nice. Call out to them. Give me your name or you die. Well, nothing. Shoot him. That's how it works. Now, one of the problems if you rise in either the versions I've suggested, the T-Virus or the Romero ghouls, is that you are no longer going to be able to interface with your spiffy cyberpunk cybernetic bodily modifications. If you have cybernetic legs, they're now just dead weight, and you are dragging yourself along the ground with your arms. If you have eyes, you're blind. If you have ears, you're deaf. If you have arms, you have none. They just hang at your side uselessly. So heavily cybered people are in a lot of trouble. And if you're a full conversion cyborg, you're just an angry, hungry brain trapped inside a steel box. And that's all you're ever going to be, an angry, hungry brain. That's really sucky. Let's hope when someone takes pity on you and scoops you out and throws you away, cleans the body, and then uses it for somebody else. Because you can do that with a full conversion cyborg. You can use any cybernetic or parts if you want, and zombies are going to be just a quick way of making a lot of money. Because you can kill them, take their parts, and sell them on the market. Because there's going to be a lot of people who want them. Because they're all going to want to be able to protect themselves from from zombie invasions. Also, people will be cremated after they die because death means you are now a danger to the public. At least in the Romero Ghoul universe. In the T virus, you can still die and not be a danger, but the fact that you could become infected makes that you are a potential danger, less than the ghouls, but still a danger. So I don't. I apologize. I have an alarm. I have to turn that off right now. Sorry about that, folks. So yes, you are a danger as a dead person. I think this would change the world, but it's not going to change the cyberpunk setting completely. Why? Because the cyberpunk setting is already a place where there are parts of the world which are living hellholes because of economic and environmental disasters. There are places that are just no man's lands because of the way we have treated the planet and our fellow humanity. And in a cyberpunk setting, that is just part of the setting. It's not quite Judge Dredd, but we're moving in that direction if we don't stop. And I could imagine there being not necessarily declared megacities, but for example, from like Boston to DC, I could see as one contiguous metropolitan environment. It just covers the East Coast, maybe all the way down to, Atlantic City. Just actually past, no, right, down to Washington. Yeah, so Atlantic City would have been there. Sorry, my mistake. So yeah, I was thinking New York for a second. But yeah, just one contiguous metropolitan zone. On the West Coast, you got Night City out there, which is just bleeding into the cities that are north and south of it. So yes, just huge metropolitan sprawl. And they're still going to exist. The places out there where they don't have as many heavily armed people in the world, they're going to become overrun with the walkers. Not so much in the United States, because even in the rural environments, people are heavily armed. I just watched Terminator Dark Fate. Not a bad movie. Had fun with it. Good sequel to the second one. Okay? And Carl, the Schwarzenegger character, the Terminator, comments about the fact that, he was preparing. He's like, also, this is Texas, which is why he owns 50 guns, because he was preparing for the eventual call up by someone to help end the latest future trying to kill the past thing. So we're going to be pretty good when it comes to that. 28 days later, not going to be a big problem here. We're just going to kill them. Remember, they have no missile weapons. Whether it's a 28 days later, mad person, the Ragers, or it's a T-virus zombie, or it's a Romero Walker, who are slower than the T-virus zombies, they don't have ranged weapons. You just kill them with guns. So you could role play the initial chaos, but then things are going to settle down into a new pattern. Not the old pattern, but a new pattern. Zombies are just going to become part of the world. And I like that idea. Never got to use it, but I like that idea. So let's talk about cyberpunk and zombies. Do you think it works? How would you do it? I know that I'm going to be talking about cyber generation and walkers in another video, because that's going to be a different take on it. Okay, so that's where we are. Now I have to go into the kitchen and turn off my oven because I have chicken breasts in there. So thank you for being here. I hope that you'll be here for the next video.